Ndewo ndị nkem, unu alahokwala ọfụma? Ya gazie. Today, I'm going to be discussing the topic of IKUKPO OKWU, the destruction of ancestral shrines, effigies, and artifacts. And again, I also want to discuss about the possible repercussions of these destructions and what can be done as an individual to escape or prevent a possible repercussion that is associated with the destruction of these ancestral shrines. Now, during the rise of Christianity in Igbo, one of their greatest achievements was encouraging Igbo to bring their effigies, bring their deities, bring the effigy that represents your Ikenga, bring the effigy that represents your Chi, and destroy them. Now, the essence of us doing this is so that we can be able to be closer to their God and also benefit from having this close relationship with this God. Now, when the colonialists, when the white men came, our ancestors were in such an awe about their appearance, the items they are using. So those art items, they were things that were not found within our region. And because these things are new and they are awesome to look at, it's made us feel that these people are better than us. And by extension, their God is also better than ours. So it was easier for them to teach our ancestors that one way of achieving this development of being civilized is by abandoning our own indigenous way of life and embracing their own way of life, their own religion, their own belief system. And by doing that, we would have to first of all denounce. And by denouncing, it simply means we have to bring those items. We have to bring them and present it to them, whether they destroy it or whether they take it to their country and leave it in display in different museums. We didn't bother about it again. But the beginning or the root of the destruction of ancestral shrines originated from this our interaction with the white men, the missionary. Now, they have left, and basically we are now handling our own affairs. But independently, as in Igbo, we continued this missionary. We continued the mission of the missionary. We continued the abuse of our indigenous belief system through the practice of family liberation, an act that is meant to cleanse the family and uplift them financially. Now, this liberation stems from the assumption that Igbo deities and effigies are the items or the things or the forces that are responsible for setback, misfortune that each family or a family is experiencing. Therefore, to fix this problem, different or various prayer sessions would be offered, and the target is simply at destroying those foundations, those ancestral foundations, and reconciling the family back to the Christian God. So this is the idea of what the family liberation is. But in reality, these effigies, these deities, these forces that are predominant in our spirituality as Igbo, they do not have anything to do with these so-called misfortunes. Because I asked a question on my Facebook, and I treat the question as questions, because even currently as a practitioner of Ordinary, I still get people questioning my belief and still telling me that I'm going to regret my decisions, in the sense that they still believe or think that recognizing and acknowledging my indigenous belief system means that I am attaching myself to a demonic force that is going to cause me misfortunes and is going to cause me problems later on in my life. But we know the principle of money. Productivity, self-development, and having knowledge. These are the principles of money. Hard work, these are the principles of knowledge, of money, which our ancestors understood. So what happens here? In order to reconcile with this so-called Christian God, our people demonize ourselves and our indigenous belief system, and they destroy these shrines. Now, before now, we used to see different ancestral trees, iroko trees, osisi oji, and other spirit trees that would have been used for commercial activities if need be. We've seen them being destroyed by the church clergy on the account that this tree is hosting a demonic force. And that demonic force is what is caging a family or what is caging a community. Now, when I was decolonizing from Christianity, I had to think about it. And what I figured out was, how can you tell me that in my community, Newi, we have Okwedo. Okwedo is situated in a market, inside a big market in Newi, Newi. Now, I see other villages destroying trees and shrines that are attached to their community in the name that those shrines are the reasons why you're not moving forward. But then, is it true? Because if we use Newi, Ido Okwedo as an instance, or to basically, for conversation's sake, we will not say that Newi is like one metropolitan city or town, but Newi is fast developing, and people that go into that market with their businesses are progressing. They go into that business with like 100,000 naira, and they come out with not less than 1 million naira profits. And Newi indiges all these achievements to this particular deity, Edo Newi. So if something like that, which we can basically trace and is visibly possible, how then do we have it in our mind that ancestral shrines is the reasons why we are not moving back and forward, or is the reasons why many young people, the youth, are not progressing? These are all manipulation tactics that separated us from our indigenous belief system. Now, this mode of operation and thinking has actually done us a lot of disservice. And currently, most families are re-establishing these ancestral altars. Most families now watch you for, and they are now doing things the right way. Even though their decision to connect or to realign themselves is as the result of an escalation of the problem they were trying to fix, which led to the destruction of their IKUKPO. Many of these people that are now coming back to reinstitute and reestablish, ancestral altars, they are doing it because of the consequences, of the repercussion of destroying those shrines at the first place. So what they are trying to fix by destroying the ancestral altars was not fixed. They now have to go back to their roots and fix it. Now, while some members of this family, of a family, are suffering for the possible repercussion of destroying an Okwu MMUO, there are still some families within the large kindred. They are not also suffering. So it basically makes us to wonder, why? Why is it that these people are suffering, but that people are not suffering? What is the cause? Now, the first reason here, why some families within a lineage is suffering and some families are not suffering, it is a clear indication that their ancestors did something different. And when you investigate, you will still come to the same conclusion. Their ancestors did something different. Now, what did they do different? They stood up against the destruction of those shrines. This is one of the first possible reasons. And because their ancestors or one of their fathers stood up and did something differently, they would find favor where other people are suffering. Some would even opt out to have those images or deities be reinstituted within their own land. But because the family are hell-bent on seeing this as demonic, they are not prone to listen to what this person is talking about. So because this person, the father of this family, campaigned against the other family members destroying those shrines, it saves his lineage, his bloodline, from any possible destruction that it comes from the desecration of these ancestral shrines. For instance, I know of a family that they came together and destroyed an ancestral offal. But before they did it, they called an Omuna meeting. And one man in particular stood against them doing this. He said, if you don't want to handle this, bring it to my house. But because these people have made up their mind and they had the number, they went on and destroyed and burnt that ancestral offal. And as repercussion, every single year, members of their families began to die off. Which, when something like this happens, to us, it's sending a message that something is cosmically wrong and it requires divination. And when the family went through divination, this was pinpointed. And while many families are crying and many of the families are burying their dead, this family were progressing and there was nothing like any untimely death or any mysterious or accidental death in that family. It was as if the Ofo created a protective shield on the family, providing for them and protecting them, as it should have done if the other family members did not destroy it because of their new religious affiliation. So, currently, if you are from a family and members of your family are hell-bent on destroying an ancestral shrine, the least you can do is to advocate for the preservation of that ancestral shrine and campaign against them destroying it. You have done your own part, and by doing so, you are going to separate yourself from any possible repercussion that is going to come as a result of this disobedience. So this is how Igbo prevents possible repercussions that are associated with the destruction of ancestral shrines and ancestral effigies. Now, finally, for families that are passing through this, it is not of anybody's fault, because mostly, apart from Ihonye Jiakayemete, in this current age of enlightenment where people are campaigning about the need to preserve ancestral altars, and because of your religious affiliation, you decide to destroy these altars. Well, just be aware that what an elder sees sitting, that as a child, when you climb the highest mountain, you are not going to see it. So if by family inclusion, you find yourself in this kind of situation where the cause of your misfortune or the cause of the problem, whether it is gender or child mortality, whether it is a unproductivity, you see young people within a family, they are old enough to have something substantial doing, and you see them gallivanting and wasting their life, it's a clear indication that there is something wrong in this family at its root. And it's not a situation of it is just one person or two persons, but many youths within a family, at least a high number of 15 to 20 that you can count from a family, and they are not doing well. Or when you come into a family, you will see a family where there are so many women of marriageable age, but none of them are getting married. Or some of them go into marriage and within a year or two, they divorce because of something that is a seamless and a clueless thing, just basically causes this problem that would make them to separate. And some of them, they will have good relationships. And when that relationships is venturing into marriage, it becomes some kind of a problem. These are clear indications to Igbo that there is an ancestral problem. There is a problem at the core, at the root of that family. And the first thing to do is to invite your elders and point out that something is wrong in the family, which means that they should look at their children. Look at their children. Look at the quality of life that they have and they should have. Because you can come into a family and you will see there are so many graduates in this family, yet the family is not progressing. It is not moving forward. It's an indication that something is wrong. So the first thing to do, call a family meeting. Tell your elders to look into this case. And after you tell them to look into this case, the next thing you should do is to contact a diviner. Let them do a total spiritual checkup on this family. And by doing that, they would be able to check and know the root cause of this problem. And mainly, when the diviner checks and finds out that the cause of these misfortunes or this problem the family is facing is because of a destroyed MMUO or a destroyed OKWU, they can now embark through the journey of acknowledging, aligning, and appeasing. And many of us that have even reverted back to our indigenous belief system and have performed all the numerous rites in spiritual, sacrifices that we are supposed to perform without any meaningful changes. Most times when we investigate through Alpha, it points to the fact that there is a lack, a problem at the root that would have to be fixed. And after we fixed this problem at our root, we can now progress and we can now move on. So this is the information that I have for you. And until next time, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to send me a personal message if you need any explanation on Igbo ancestral concepts and explanations about our Igbo spirituality, our culture, and our tradition. And until next time, Yagasia.